Shalom. So, hopefully, everybody can hear me. So, we are going to do the 10 Commandments. And this is actually the Deuteronomy version. But while I was looking at the Wikipedia page, which explains um, how various people numbered the Ten Commandments, because there are lots of different numberings. Um, they said it says though both the Masoretic text and the Dead Sea Scrolls show the passages of Exodus 20 and Deuteronomy 5 divided into 10 specific commandments with spaces between them. And so I decided to look at the actual Dead Sea Scroll, which they pointed us at. And while it's absolutely amazing to me that, I mean, it's letter by letter exactly like our current Masoretic text, like letter by letter. So, just in case anybody wasn't exactly aware, the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered near the Dead Sea um, a while ago. I think like 80 years ago or so. And then it took a long time before they were actually published and disseminated. And now they're finally being published and disseminated. Um, so a lot of scholars date them at around 100 before the Common Era. So 100 years before Jesus or so. And that's what the carbon dating kind of indicates. Um, some scholars actually would say that they may be from as late as the Bar Kokhba revolt in 130, I think it was. And that's so these scrolls are at least 1900 years old. Uh, and I, a lot, while some of them are written in the old actual Hebrew script, these are written in the Assyrian Aramaic square script that most people think call Hebrew script today. Um, I have a whole video on that. And at least this fragment, I don't I don't really see it, breaking up. I was kind of expecting it to be broken up the way it is in our modern scrolls. This is the line where lo tinaf, lo tignov, tinaf. Don't. Well, we'll get to it. Tignov is don't steal. Lo taned berecha, right? So don't false witness. And I don't see breaks here. I mean, I saw there's a break here between Shabbat lekodsho and kabet et avicha, right? The keep the Sabbath and um, honor your parents. And but these breaks, they I'm not really sure about them. Um, it was interesting to me that he seems to start the the chapter precisely where we start the chapter. Um, but yeah, otherwise, I'm really not sure how precisely these breaks were decided. It might have been partially simply because of the condition of the leather. Like you can see, I don't know. I really don't know. Uh, it would be speculation on my part. The Masoretes finally, actually even set down the breaks. Um, Obviously, what you want to say about the breaks, it's up to you. But I just thought I would show this to people because it's so it's just so amazing to think that this is preserved, right? And you can go to um the Shrine of the Book in Israel and see them. Yeah. So that's that. So let's take a look at the numbering. So this column on the left is the traditional Jewish one, the Talmud. The next one is supposed to be from John Calvin. The next one is supposed to be Orthodox Christians. The next one is Philo. The next one is Lutherans, Samaritan Pentateuch. Augustine is the one who gets really weird over here. And the Catholic one is all the ways on the right. So, yeah, so in it's the same text for everyone except for I don't know how Augustine ended up with the 10th commandment being the, the stones. I mean, it's like it's the 10 commandments. Uh to put up the stones, that that's not an eternal commandment. I don't even understand how you theologically you can end up with that. But yeah, that's um I believe that's Augustine. No, that's the Samaritan Pentateuch. I'm sorry. Okay, I was being mean to Augustine. I'm sorry. It's the Samaritan Pentateuch, and yeah, so they have political reasons for Mount Gerizim because they say that that's actually the mountain upon which they live. Actually, most of the Samaritans today live in that area. Um, yeah, okay, so that's where they get it. But so the Jewish counting is the first one is just I am the Lord your God. Second is thou shalt not have no other gods before me, which um, apparently all the Christian and the Samaritans as well um, count either put that with the second commandment or because graven images, right? Um, or they no, actually they some of them leave it with the first commandment. No, okay, the Christian ones keep it with the first commandment. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading this chart. But this is the chart, all the various ways. Handy dandy. It's on Wikipedia, and you can see how various people um, chop them up. Okay, so the one of the reasons I did want to go over this is because I wanted to talk briefly about the cancellations of the Ten Commandments. Um, so I don't know the cancellations very well. There is a special cancellation which is used for the Ten Commandments when they are read in synagogue, like they will be um, on Shavuot coming up uh, this coming Monday, Sunday night, Monday. Um, and so we have the normal cancellations which follow the standard rules. Um, and those are not used for the public Torah readings. The public Torah readings have their own cancellations, which tend to um, make it more clear exactly. You have two-word pasukim, right? You have which is much shorter, which is shorter. I mean, uh, how much shorter can you get than three? But it's shorter than any of the verses with normal cancellation. So the theory is various people say that you're when you're reading it privately with the cantillations, you should use that as opposed to when it's being chanted in a synagogue. Um, it seems to me that it's possible that that the normal cantillation was used when the Ten Commandments were part of the liturgy. Um, they were removed out of the liturgy um, because the rabbis felt that people were treating the Ten Commandments as if they are the only commandments, possibly in response to Christianity saying, no, these are part of the rest of the Torah. It's not just these. And yeah, so while obviously they're read when they come up in the Parshiot and on Shavuot, and obviously, I mean, synagogues have them all over the place. They're not actually recited in synagogue anymore. So that's as far as the two cantillation marks. And obviously, there's two accountings. There's the one in Exodus and there's the one in Deuteronomy. We're going to start with the one in Exodus 20, and then we will. Yeah, that's what we are going to do today. So, Exodus 20, verse 1. Unless there are any questions about the cantillations or anything like that, um, please feel free to ask. But verse 1 in the New King James Version, and God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And they have a note there. We'll look at that. The NIV. And God spoke all these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. Okay. The note. Slaves. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I went into verse 2. Right. So I read both verse 1 and verse 2 because yeah, it's verse 1 is just so short. Um yeah. Okay. So let's look at Chabad. God spoke all these words to respond, and I'm sure there's tons of Rashis. We're not going to do them all. We'll be here forever. I am the Lord your God who took you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Let's look at the actual Hebrew. Vaidaber Elohim et kol hadavarim ha'ele le'emor. So, pretty standard stuff. Elohim is that particular name, not the tetragrammaton. All of these words saying, yeah, pretty simple stuff. And then there is a this is a setuma. We're actually going to see this a lot. So when you look at the actual Bible scrolls in a synagogue, they're they're justified, right? They're written so that there are margins on the paragraph as you're reading them, and then with the columns, and then there are what are called closed breaks, which is just an indentation which doesn't break the margin. So when you look in the scroll, there'll be a break, but there will be words at both at the beginning of the sentence and at the end of the sentence. A petucha makes a clean break and starts it's considered a more strong break, and so the words are started on the next line. Um, so when if you're just looking at the margins, you wouldn't notice a setuma, a closed break. You would notice an open break. So that's the punctuation that samech there is a setuma. Okay, verse 2. Anochi havaya elokecha asher hotzeticha me'eretz Mitzrayim mi beit avadim. And this is the perfect place to talk about the word anochi, right? So anochi is considered kind of like um the more formal way of the first person, right? Instead of ani, anochi. Uh, while people other than God do use the term anochi in the in the Hebrew Bible, it's we generally say that it's. I mean, in Hebrew, definitely, it is a name that very much is identified with God Himself speaking. So, yeah. So just to illustrate the point, so by Cain and Abel, right? That Cain says to God, "Am I my brother's keeper?" Right? And the Hebrew there is Hashomer Achi Anochi, right? So Hashomer, right? That has the question on it. The article there is makes it into a question. Shomer means guard. Achi is my brother. Anochi, I. And there's no present tense of the verb to be there. It's implied. Well, one of the midrashic readings of that is that Cain was actually blaming God. He was like Hashomer achi anochi, the guardian of my brother is anochi, is God, right? So hey, it's your fault. You created us, right? You're Hashomer, right? You are the guardian. You right? I mean, obviously, it's a midrashic level. Touch on that. A drasha exegesis, I guess. Um, but that should give you some indication, and actually like online you will see people using anochi as their handles. It's a commonly taken, well, how commonly, but it's a handle that people do use anochi to for some reason. I've seen it on Discord and stuff in games. So okay, so that's Anochi. Um, so Anochi Havayel Asher Hotzeticha, that is in the causative Hifil, um, right? And it's the singular you, right? Not and here as well. It's not all y'all. Meres Misraim. I mean, Beit Avadim, the house of Avadim, of slaves, bondage, right? It's in a construct form with avadim. Yeah, that's pretty simple stuff. Let's keep on going. Verse 3. You shall have no other gods before me. NIV, you shall have no other gods before me. And let's see what the note there is. Or besides. Okay. Let's see the actual true. Right, ET. Yeah. Lo yihyeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai. Um, hmm, my side. Okay, so um, I'm sorry, we were reading the English. You shall not have the gods of others. Lecha Elohim acherim. Oh, okay, the gods of others. Um, I'd also uh, always thought of it as other gods of others in my presence. Let's see actually what Rashi says. Um, it says Elohim acherim, and I'm saying the word Elohim here because it's obviously not a holy use of it, which are not gods, but that others have made them or for gods over themselves. It is impossible to interpret this message to mean gods other than I, since it is a disgrace for heaven to call them gods along with him. Alternatively, strange gods, right? Elohim acherim. Um, it's strange gods, acher. Um, for they are strange to their worshippers. They cry out to them, but they do not answer them. And it appears as if the gods were a stranger who never knew him. The oh, Elohim acherim, right? The gods that are acherim alpanai. Yeah. So this whole thing of achor and panai, right? So front and back, right? Panim achor. That juxtaposition in Hebrew is pretty common. Uh yeah, so Rashi really doesn't like the idea that God himself was calling them other gods. Yeah, he doesn't like the henotheistic model, which I can understand. And Rashi is Rashi. I'm not sure everybody agrees that it's impossible to read it the other way. Okay, let's read the Hebrew. Lo yihyeh lecha Elohim acherim al panai. Right, that acher with the panai, right? This is the preposition with the ayin, not with the aleph. So al panai, literally upon my face. Right? I guess that's why the NIV is translating it um, as with me. I was thinking lota suniti. That's with me. Um, yeah, al panai. And it's still in the singular you. Okay, verse 4. You shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Okay. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. God. You shall not make for yourself a graven image or any likeness which is in the heavens above, which is on the earth below, or which is in the water beneath the earth. Okay. I'm not gonna Rashi. Lo ta'aseh lecha fesel v'chol temuna asher bashamayim mima'al v'asher ba'aretz mitachat v'asher b'mayim mitachat la'aretz. Okay, so ta'aseh is to make or to do, right? It's in the imperfect. It's not in the command, which makes sense. It's still in the we're still with the singular second person, so it's you. Pesel, this word pesel means to form or to carve. It's actually that's what Rashi was talking about. So it's I think it's used pretty much just with regard to idols. Um, yeah, shows up 30 times. Excuse me. In the Bible. Yeah. So from Pakal, from Pasal. Why it's had that with a C, I don't know. Um, so they have it as separately when it's used as a verb. This is one of the things I don't like when Strong's concordance gives separate numbers to things which are very obviously just they're just forms of the same root. I think you really should be um if it was me, I would be keeping track of the roots. Um yeah, that's okay. So that's Fessel. And the reason why it's Fessel and not Pesel is because it's in the middle of a sentence, and yeah, being in the middle of a sentence may sometimes makes the P turn into an F or vice versa in the Hebrew. So that's what's going on. The whole temuna. So the word temuna comes from a image. Um, yeah, 10 times in the Bible. See Hebrew mean. Eh, temuna, temuna as a, I mean, of kind or species? I don't think so. That does not make sense to me as the root. But, um, because they're saying it's actually the root is mem yud nun, and a temuna is like an example of a kind. Yeah. Let's did I close? I did close. No. Okay. I am not as silly as I thought I was. I'm just okay. So Chabad, Rashi, Temuna. He doesn't say anything about Temuna. I was wondering if he would give other places or where that word comes from. Yeah, I mean, you can use your concordance, but I don't know exactly what, in modern Hebrew, a picture is called a temuna. Um, so let's let's keep on going. Verse 5, you shall not bow down to them nor serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me. Uh, there we are. NIV, you shall not bow down to them to worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me. Um, and yeah, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how Christians translate that as opposed to uh, Jews. Um, so you shall not prostrate yourself before them, nor worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a zealous God, who, not jealous, zealous, who visits the iniquity of the fathers upon the sons, upon the third and the fourth generation of those who hate me. So as El right Kel Kane, sorry, I should That is a holy use of the word, right? So, kane, zealous to mete out punishment. He does not forego retaliating by forgiving the sin of idolatry. Every expression of kane means unpramant in Old French, zealous anger. He directs his attention to mete out punishment. Um, yeah. So as far as this whole Poked Avon, right? So let's read the Rashis and then read the Hebrew, and then we'll talk about it more. Of those who hate me, as the Targum Onkelos paraphrases, where the sons continue to sin following their fathers when they cling to their father's deeds. Because Zechariah, is it Ezekiel 18? It's Ezekiel 18, I believe. Or Zechariah, I'm pretty sure it's Ezekiel 18. Which talks about not, each person dies for their own sin, right? And so the question becomes, why doesn't it appear that God is saying, I bring that upon their third and fourth generations? This is a very different way of understanding it than the Jewish way of understanding it. And I think the actual words bear out the Jewish understanding more than they do the Christian understanding, which is that our sins pollute those around us. That is a given. But what God is actually saying is, I only I only visit, right? Using the word visit, and actually let's look at, I forgot to look at the note there. Worship, punishing, visit and punishing. So the Jewish interpretation is that this is a verse of limitation, right? So God is saying, you know what? These sins, they will only continue to affect up to the third and fourth generation, as opposed to the next line, which talks about those who love him, which is 1,000 generations, right? So we're showing God's mercy. This is an expression of God's mercy, and I mean, this is one of the ones which make Jews scratch their heads over the question of original sin, or ancestral sin, if you want to call it. It says to the third and fourth generations. That's it, right? And that is a limitation. So the idea that we still have inherited some form of sin or something, we are still being visited by the sins of Adam and Eve. That's just not a Jewish way of looking at it. Certainly not spiritually. What we do have is the idea that, of course, you inherit your body from your ancestors, and what happened with Adam and Eve was a change in their material form when they were kicked out of Eden, right? God made for them leather clothing, right? So they physically changed. And obviously, each child is physically the child of their parents, and in that sense, yes, the sin of Adam and Eve still affect us. We still die, but that's only physically, right? we certainly don't believe that there's any sort of spiritual taint. And looking at the Hebrew, I think you see that. So lo tishtachave lahem, right? And this tishtachave, every time it is what it is. I might have to do a video just on it. Lahem velo to'avdam, them, right? You shall not serve them, and this is the same root ein bet dalid, which means slave or service or working, right? Beit avadim, right? The house of slavery. So it's the same root there. Ki anochi havaya lokecha kel kane, right? So they're not saying it's in the construct. They're saying that kana is an adjective. Okay. I mean, yeah. How exactly? I mean, jealous or zealous is modifying the word God there. And you can look at your concordance for kuf nun aleph. So they're saying it's the same as kuf. Oh, okay, with the hey. So even here they have ardor, zealous, jealousy, right? Kina. Yeah, I mean this shows up 44 times as kina in the feminine. Kane shows up 6 times in this manner. So yeah, only of God, kel kane, kana shemo, right? So from kana, so this is the verb. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it is the same root, so that makes sense to me. Compare kan o, which also is a variant of this. So if you want to look at this much more closely, I would certainly look at all the other words which come from this same root, kuf nun aleph. And of course, if you're going to go the 2-letter route, 2-radical route, then you could say kuf nun, which means to acquire, or hey kuf nun, which is to fix, right? So if you want to go the 2-letter route, you can actually get pretty wild out there with the connections. Okay. Poked. Now this is the important part, right? Poked avon avot. So the root pe kuf dalid means to keep, right? So a pekeda is a package, actually. A tafkid is a when I mean when a picadon, right? You leave something with someone else. They're talking about foremen, overseers, mustering, visiting, register, right? It it it's not punishing, that's for sure, right? I would say keeping, right, is the best way to do it. You can of course look at all the 302 times that it shows up in the Bible. Wow. So I almost want to say remembering, right? So to be, yeah, he made him overseer, right? Hifkid oto bebeito. This is, I believe, talking about Joseph. Yeah, and it, I don't, and obviously, where it says pakad bahavaya pakad et zara, God um remembered Sarah, right? That's when she was able to have a child. So it's, I think the word punishing is definitely wrong there. It is not etymologically defensible. Okay, so poked avon avot. Um, Curiously enough, avot is written bechisaron there. If you are keeping track, al banim. So that is the preposition with the ayin. Um, the sons, right? Al shileshim al ribeim lesonai. So third and fourth, right? Lesonai, and that comes from the word sinah, which means to hate. Although recently I had a conversation with a rabbi who said it actually should be read more to mean separate, right? So the ones who separate themselves from me. Um, Prepositional lamed, the root sin nun aleph is pretty common there. Yep. Okay. So I hope that was clear. I think the next line will actually make it more clear. Verse 6. But showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. Um, so they're not actually reading the generations. They include the generations in the fifth, right? Because it's third and fourth what? Generations. But when we talk about thousands, they're not reading generations in there. Eh, not what I like. But showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. I think that's pretty clearly the correct translation. Let's see Chabad. And I perform loving kindness to thousands of generations. And they did the good thing of putting it in brackets there. To those who love me and to those who keep my commandments. So, yeah, there are rabbis who do all kinds of actual calculations. That's what Rashi's talking about. Um, ועושה חסד לאלפים, לאוהבי ולשומרי מצוותיי. So, Ose is does. Chesed is often translated as loving kindness. Acts of loving kindness make sense, right? Chesed, it's an important word. I'm guessing a lot of you have paid attention to la alafim, right? So, prepositional lamed, there is not an article there. The reason for that is because the aleph, being a guttural, is changing it to a patach. That so yeah, le ohavai, to those who love me. So 2,000s to those who love me. Yeah, so it's not it. I would put a comma here. 2,000 generations, comma, to those who love me. Yeah, I would definitely put a comma in the English. Did they do that? Um, to those who love me. Uh, yeah, they put a comma there too. And here. to 1,000 generations of those who love me. See, I don't agree with that. I would put that comma there, right? Because it's la alafim, 2,000s, generations is implied. Le ohavai, to those who love me. It is bechisaron still, not strange. U leshomrei, and so all three of them have a lamed at the beginning. I definitely think you should put a comma after thousands there. And if you're using the Oxford comma, you would actually also use it after ohabai. Ula shomrei mitzvotai. So shomer obviously means to keep, and that is in the construct form with mitzvotai, my commandments. And there's another setuma, closed break there in the scroll. Next verse. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. 7. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Okay. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold blameless anyone who takes his name in vain. And this word shav is probably going to be what you're really gonna want to do a study on. So let's do the Rashis, because he's talking about lashav, right? In what exactly shav means. You shall not swear in vain by the name of the Lord your God. Unkelos lashav. The word appears twice in this verse. The second, the mention of lashav, is an expression of falsehood, as the Targum Unkelos renders leshikra, right, as a lie. As it says in the Talmud Shavuot 21a, what constitutes a vain oath? If one swears contrary to what is known, for example, saying about a stone pillar that it is made of gold. The first mention of lashav is an expression of vanity, as the Targum Onkelos renders lemagara. This refers to one who swears for no reason and in vain. For example, making an oath concerning a pillar of wood, saying that it is wood, and concerning a pillar of stone, saying that it is stone. And yeah, so there's the Mechilta and Talmud Shavuot. Okay, so let's look at this in the Hebrew. Lo tisa et shem havaya elokecha la shav. And there's an article there, which is interesting. Ki lo yinakeh havaya et asher yisa et shemo la shav. And then there's a petucha. Interesting. Okay, so lo tisa means to raise, literally means raise, right? So the root here is nun sin aleph, which I would say is also related to the word nes, right? Which means miracle but means sign. Banners being raised up, right? So lo tisa et, you shall not raise up or bring up. I mean, yeah. Et, so Shem Havaya, the name of God, right? And that's in a construct form, name and God. I mean, that is the tetragrammaton. Elokecha la shav. So prepositional lamed with the article. So there is an article there in the canto, vocalization, both here and the second time. And the word shav, I would say, is contrasted with things that are important in various verses. I'm trying to remember what the exact because there are these couplets in Hebrew where something where they get juxtaposed a lot. I can't remember what shav might even be with poked. Can't seem to remember. I'm sorry. Today's been a long day. Yeah, nasu lashav. Yeah. So this word shav, see Hebrew shav, and they have from an unused word, perhaps a ravage. Shoah, destruction. So desolation. So from Shoah, huh? I did not consider the the relation there with Shav and Shoah. I guess that's it's not a huge stretch. Um, waste, yeah, Shoah. Safanya, 150. Just look at Yom Evra Hayom Hahu. Yom Tzara Umetzuka, Yom Shoah Umeshoah. Yom Choshech Va'afela, Yom Anan Arafel. These are all old things. And it is being contrasted with Yom Shofar. I'm really bothered. I can't remember what the other thing of Shav is. Um, and I would say that there is some alliteration going on in this verse. You can just see the shin, sin, shin, sin, right? Nasa, lashav, yisa, lashav, shemo, right? His name, and there's a petucha here, so it's an open break. Uh, yeah, the real question becomes what that word shav, and Rashi gave the rabbinic explanation. Um, it's twice. It's mentioned twice because both if you lie about something important and even if you swear about something unimportant. And yeah, we take this we take this kind of seriously, and especially when it comes to brachot. Um, okay, so let's keep verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Remember the Sabbath day to sanctify it. And this verse is very it's so its counterpart in Deuteronomy says shamor. Shamor, and this says zachor, right? And there's the famous song Shamor v'Zachor b'dibur echad, right? That there is this idea that the two of them were well, let's read what Rashi says. Hebrew Zachor, remember Zachor, and Shamor, keep, right, were pronounced with one utterance. Similarly, the statements, those who profane it shall be put to death, and on the Sabbath day 2 lambs, were said in one utterance. And similarly, you shall not wear shatnez, and you shall make tzitzit for yourself. Similarly, phrases, the nakedness of your brother's wife, were said in one utterance. This occurrence of God saying two phrases simultaneously in one utterance is the meaning of what is said. God spoke one thing, I heard two, in Psalm 62:12. The word Zahor is the Pa'ol form, and an expression of ongoing action, like let us engage. Okay, Zahor, yeah, and drinking a whole the chateau. This is its interpretation. Pay attention to always keep the Sabbath, remember the Sabbath day, so that if you chance upon a beautiful thing, you shall prepare it for the Sabbath, from the Mechilta. I'm actually wondering where he got this idea that these other verses were said at the same time. Because actually yesterday on the Discord server, somebody was actually asking about the parochet and shatnez, the veil of the Holy of Holies. Was shatnez. Shatnez is a combination of wool and linen. Yeah, God bringing two things together. I'm actually really curious to know where Rashi got this from. It's not being no thing there. So let's read the actual Hebrew. Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekacho. So Zachor, it's written b'milui. Zecher is remember. It's in the infinite absolute, yes. Not in the command form, which why wouldn't we call that the command form? Let's look at our constructor here. The command form would be Zechor. Zachor as an adjective, remembered. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why they're not saying it's in the command form. Zachor. Oh, because then yeah, then it would have a shva underneath the Zion. There was the whore, right? Don't know what to tell you. Between me and Rashi, I would pick Rashi. And lekacho, right, to keep it holy, and the word kadesh, holy. We were discussing on the Discord server again today, actually, is a word of separation. Okay, next verse. Verse did we just do? 9. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. Chabad. 6 days may you work and perform all your labor. Yeah, not very much different. Sheshet yamim ta'avod ve'asita kol melachtecha. So I mean, yeah, 6 days, pretty simple stuff. Ta'avod is that same word, labor, slave, that we said with Beit Avadim, and also to worship gods, right? To serve gods. Va'asita, and you shall do kol melachtechas, and the word here melacha, right, for work. The rabbinic interpretation is that it refers to creative work. So same as a malach, a messenger. So the word angel, right, is used. That's it is also this same word. It's very strange to have this silent aleph in the middle of it, but it's obvious that this was a word that was understood to have this silent aleph in it. Craftsmanship, yeah, shows up 167 times. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. And it refers to the first place it shows up in the Bible is in Genesis 2, which is where the rabbis learn that this is creative work because it was used by God's creation during the creation, like the 6 days of creation. Yeah, you might want to do a deep dive on that word malach. Uh, okay. Next verse. But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, no, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. Verse 10. The seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner is residing in your town. Abad, but the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord, your God. You shall perform no labor, neither you, your son, your daughter, your manservant, your maidservant, your beast, nor your stranger who is in your city. So they're interpreting that vav as being but. Not exactly sure why. I would. I mean, you can. I'm not sure why they did. V'yom hashvi'i Shabbat lahavaya elokecha lo ta'aseh kol melacha ata uvincha uvitecha avdecha ve'amatecha uvhemtecha vegercha asher v'sharecha. So, Yom HaShvi'i, the seventh day, is a Sabbath of prepositional lamed, to the Lord. So, however you want to translate that. Elokecha, we're still in the singular. Lo ta'aseh kol melacha. You shall not do any work, right? So ata, so you, uvincha, right, and your son, in singular, it's still in the singular, uvitcha, and your daughter, right? Avdecha, your manservant, ve'amatecha, right? You know that verse, Ani avdecha ben amatecha, right? I am your servant, the son of your maidservant, right? Uh, Eved is the masculine, the feminine is an ama. Uvhemtecha, so this is the word where behemoth comes from, refers to all animals, I would say, but your livestock, yeah. Now, this is very strange. Vegercha, and your ger. Now, it's a ger can mean a convert, but how would it be your convert? Does Rashi talk about this, gercha? He doesn't. And I mean, a ger, I guess, is this is talking about a ger toshav, right? Um, yeah, ger toshav. That's probably. It's funny that it says gercha. That's kind of what um is making me pause here. Is why is it your stranger? Not sure. Asher bisha'arecha, that is in your gates. I mean, other than the people who say that everything is in the singular because the Israelites were stood there as one person, as one individual there. Okay. Be sha'arecha, in your gates. Prepositional bet. Sha'ar is a gate. Simple stuff there. Okay, verse 11. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, but he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and sanctified it. And this is where Rashi talks about people who make the mistake of thinking that Shabbat is about getting tired. It's we're not talking about fatigue, because obviously we're not talking. God wouldn't be fatigued. Okay. Ki sheshet yamim asa havaya et hashamayim ve'et haaretz et hayam ve'et kol asher bam vayanach bayom hashavi'i al ken berach havaya et yom hashabbat vayikadshehu. And there's a setuma at the end of that. Yeah, sheshet yamim, 6 days. Asa, right? God made, right? And pretty common. Et hashamayim, et haaretz, pretty common stuff. Et kol asher bam, and everything that is in them. Vayanach, so this is the root noach, menucha, right? And it is the same root as Noah, right? Noach. So rest. Bayom ha-shavi'i al ken. So al ken is a common expression meaning therefore, because of that. Al ken berach, right? Blessed. Um, you know, perfect, simplest form. Havaya et Yom HaShabbat, the the day of the Sabbath, right? It is in construct Yom and Shabbat, and the article goes on the last term as normal. Va Yekadeshehu. Now that is interesting because, well, I mean, it's in the imperfect, but the vav they are saying is flipping it, which I would agree with. Yeah, and the ending there is the third person masculine singular. Um, and Shabbat, I think, is well, they're saying it's a common, so sometimes it's referred to. I thought it was usually referred to as feminine. Sabbath. Noun, feminine and masculine. So sometimes it's oh, so apparently it's usually masculine when you're saying Yom HaShabbat, because the day itself is masculine. Okay, good to know. Did not. Okay, verse 12. Uh, honor your father and your mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. Honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. Honor your father and your mother, in order that your days be lengthened on the land that the Lord your God is giving you. So let's read the Hebrew. Kabed et avicha ve'et imecha, lama'an yarichun yamecha, al ha'adama asher havaya elokecha noten lach. And there's a setuma, there's a closed break at the end of that. Kabed here is in the command form. The root chafbet dalid literally means heavy, right? I use the word gravitas with it a lot. But honor, yeah, that is, kabed et avicha. So the rabbis, like I've said before, darshan all the direct object markers in the Torah, and so they extend this honor, obviously in a less serious manner, to your older siblings with those direct object markers. So your father and your mother, lama'an. Yeah, I mean, that's not a strange thing. So that, lama'an, yarichun, so Aleph Resh Chaf means long. Yarichun here, it's in the Hefil, it's in the causative, right? And there's an Bechisaron Yud, not sure exactly why. The Vav is there. Yarichun, and it has a paragogic nun at the end. I think probably simply probably as poetic, but paragogic nuns are always hard. Yamecha, your days, al ha'adama, and I was expecting Eretz there. Adama is actually reminds me of Genesis, right? Adam came from the Adama. Asher havaya lekecha noten lach. that God gives to you, and this is in the feminine, uh, but that's probably because of the cancellations. Um, yeah, Asher Havayel Noten Lach. So that's why it looks like the feminine, because it's at the end of the pasuk. Verse 13, you shall not murder. Pretty simple. Um, you shall not murder. Yep. Chabad. You shall not murder. Mm, right. So this is all one verse in the Jewish counting. So the counts are going to be off. Yeah. How am I going to do? Well, obviously, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Um, yeah, lotinaf, adultery. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna do the Rashis. I always feel like doing the Rashis. I'm sorry. So lo tirtzach, right? Do not. The root here is resh tzadik het, which retzach, yeah, is murder, unlawful killing. Lawful killing is hereg, right? So when people are put to death, that's called hereg. Or when people are killed in war, that is hereg. This is retzach. Um, to murder or slay. I'm pretty sure retzach is always something that is a bad way of doing it. Properly to dash in pieces. Okay. And it does show up quite a bit, 47 times in the Bible. And there's a closed break there, which is why it's in the different pasukim, but it's very short, so that's why it's in the one pasuk. In so the numbering is going to be very off. It's 23 verses in Chabad, and it is the chapter is 26 verses, so there's 3 extra verses because of that. Yeah. You shall not commit adultery, right? You shall not steal, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. NIV, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal, you shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I probably would not have translated it "do not steal." Obviously, while stealing is forbidden, it is in Judaism. We say that the Ten Commandments refers to the very most important things, which can be punishable by death. So we're not just talking about taking $5. We're talking about geneva, which means kidnap, right? At at the very least, well, let's get there. So tin af, nun aleph pay. I'm not sure how to translate that. Commit adultery. Okay. Uh, shows up 31 times in the Bible, usually talking about somebody who is committing adultery, especially female. It's also used of men, right? Literally commit adultery. Aramaic naaf, barely ever used. Yeah. Obviously, I mean, this is Yeah, commit adultery. Guess there's just no single Hebrew word, I mean English word for commit adultery, but naaf is what it is. Okay. So lo tignov, right? Geneva, gimel nun bet. I would at the very least translate it as do not mug, right? So Geneva in Judaism, as opposed to gazela, is gazela is described as taking property um, from a person without violence, whereas Geneva is when you do violence, which includes like going into somebody's house at night. And the reasoning for that distinction in rabbinic law is because somebody who is willing to mug someone or pickpocket someone or steal from their house while they are there is in a sense just setting up murder, right? If 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 they get caught, you know, they're people. They are showing a lack of respect for human life, and that's at the very least Geneva. The traditional understanding of this particular commandment. There are other commandments which forbid Geneva and Gezela, stealing things, is kidnapping. So that is the Jewish understanding. Um, Not that it's not it's not that those things are not forbidden. It's that those things are not of the same caliber and importance to be part of the Ten Commandments. Okay? Hope that's clear. Um, and lo ta'aneh bere'echa ed shaker. So ta'aneh, it literally means to answer. Um, yeah. Ein nun he, to answer or respond. Um, be're'echa, right? To your neighbor, right? Why rea is translated as neighbor. It's kind of become um, it's become a common way of translating it. Not sure it needs to be neighbor, right? It can be another 27 time another, right? 18 times friends, 64 times neighbor. I'm not sure it's necessary for re'eh to be like we think of it of re'eh, we think of a neighbor as in person who lives right next to you, and there is no reason to make that sort of differentiation. So I don't like the translation of your neighbor. Ed means witness. Shaker means sheker, right? Is the opposite of emet, of truth, and I have no clue it's um why it's in capitals there. False. I have no clue why that's all in capitals there. Apparently, then NAS translates it false. Okay, all capital. Don't know the NAS. What is the NAS? I will have to figure out why they're putting such emphasis on. at some other time. Okay, so we got through those. You shall not covet. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, his manservant, his maidservant, his ox, his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. Hebrew. Lo tachmod beit re'echa, lo tachmod eshet re'echa, ve'avdo, ve'amato, ve'shoro, ve'chamoro, ve'chol asher le're'echa, and there's a petucha, there's an open break there. So the word chamod, right, covet, one of the land of Israel is actually called Eretz Chemda, right? It's chamud, right? Is something in modern Hebrew they call, translates kind of as beloved, right? I mean, obviously you can use your concordance there. It's not always in a bad way. In fact, oftentimes it's not, right? Kol etz nechmad, all the pleasing to the sight, right, in Genesis 2. Things that are coveted, right? So it's Arabic praise, eulogize, approve of, Sabian ingratitude. Yeah, it's not like the word ta'ava, right, which is considered a bad, itself is considered bad here, right? I don't think we ever find, well, I guess, I mean, people say beta'avon, right? Eat with gusto, eat, enjoy. Yeah, if you want to say kind of, well, ta'ava is also kind of a lust within you, whereas tachmod, right, chemda, is desiring, take pleasure in. So it's not the action, right? Covetousness in English, the word itself is something that's disapproved of. That's not true in the I just wanted to make it clear. Beit re'echa, the house of your neighbor, right? Your fellow. And it repeats lo tachmod eshet re'echa, right? So that's isha, which is woman or wife, in a construct with re'echa, right? Your fellow. Ve'avdo, ve'amato, ve'shoro, ve'chamoro, right? So same thing. Eved, like we had before. Ama, like we had before, right, on Sabbath. So similarly, it's repeated here. Shor-o, right? So a shor is an ox, okay? Chamor is a donkey. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, it's written bechisaron vav. That's not. I don't think that's too much of a deal. V'chol asher l're'echa, and everything that is your neighbor's, that is for your neighbor. There's a petucha there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if people have questions and stuff, if they find any particular line or word important, please do let me know. Now all the people witnessed the thunderings, the lightning flashes, the sound of the trumpet, and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they trembled and stood afar off. Okay? When the people saw the thunder and lightning, and heard the trumpet, and saw the mountain in smoke, they trembled with fear. They stayed at a distance. Chabad. And all the people saw the voices. They do see the verse. Saw the thunder. Yeah. And heard the trumpet. Mm. All the people witnessed the thunder. See, this is an important point in Judaism. It's they saw the voices and the torches, the sound of the shofar, and the smoking mountain, and the people saw and trembled. So they stood from afar. And this is one of well, that's a different thing, right? So the second Rashi, Roim et hakolot, they saw the voices. Roim et hanishma, they read what is, they heard, saw what was heard. She'i afshar lirot b'makom acher, that which is impossible, right? In otherwise, yeah. So the Hebrew, v'chol ha'am ro'im et hakolot. They saw the voices, kol, right? Ah, ve'et ha'lepidim, ve'et kol ha'shofar, ve'et kahar ashen, sorry, ha'am ve'yanu'u, ve'yamdu merachok. Okay, so all the people, right? This is the word Ro'im is written b'chisaron vav, which is, I guess, normal. Yeah. Saw, right? Well, this is the participle, right? It's in the present tense. Et, the direct object marker, hakolot, has the first vav and not the second. Bet halapidim, there's a yud, the first yud, not the second one. Lapid is a flame, right? So torch. Yeah. Shows up 14 times. Firebrand, burning lamp. Yeah. So that's why Chabad does torches. See this. Doesn't explain lapidim, the torches. Yeah. Be'et kol hashofar, and so that's in the construct form, kol with b'milui vav, and shofar bechisaron, right? The sound of the trumpet, kol hashofar, right? There was one trumpet, I guess. Yeah. Ve'et hahar ashen, and the mountain, ashen means smoking, right? Yeah, it means smoking. Vayar ha'am, and they saw. Yeah, the hay absconds, which is normal there. Vayanu'u, right? So that means to tremble, to move, to quiver. Nua. Vayanu'u. Na vened, right? So in Genesis 4, it actually gets used twice. This saying nav and ned, right? It moves hither and thither. Um, and so we say shva na, right? Um, is the schwa that sounds like a small e, and schwa nach, right, is the one that stops. That's because na means to move. Um, so vayanu, um, written with a kubutz there, not a shuruk. And it's in the imperfect, so it's being flipped by the vav at the beginning. V'ya'amdu, so the root here is aleph mem. Ayin mem daled. Don't get it confused with aleph mem daled. Aleph mem daled is a pillar, and ayin mem daled is to stand. Let's see if yeah. So the numbering not helping me because Aleph, as it should be, is other place. Yeah, don't get the two confused. They are definitely different. Although I get them confused sometimes. So that's why I'm telling you not to get them confused. Don't be like me. Me rachok. So prepositional mem, rachok, bechisaron vav, and means far off. Yeah, nothing too special there. Then they said to Moses, "You speak with us, and we will hear, but let not God speak with us, lest we die." Verse 19. And said to Moses, "Speak to us yourself, and we will listen, but do not have God speak to us, or we will die." God. They said to Moses, "You speak with us, and we will hear, but let God not speak with us, lest we die." And I think this is part of the whole explanation we have in Judaism that really what happened was the people were actually dying and being resurrected, and it was just too much of a event in their lives for them to um, for them to not for them to stand. And there is the idea that if they had in fact been able to withstand it, Moses would have been the Messiah, and all would have been good at that very moment. But that's not what happened. So let's look at the Hebrew. Vayomru el Moshe daber ata imanu v'nishma'a ve'al yedaber imanu Elohim pen namut. Vayomer Moshe daber. So they're speaking. Amar is considered the less intense way of speaking. Daber is considered the more intense way of speaking. Ata imanu, you with us, right? Im, preposition with the ayin. The other im is if, it's not a preposition. Venishma, right? And so this is conjunctive imperfect cohortive, because it's yeah, they're saying the vav is not flipping it, which is good. I agree with that. And the hey at the end, they're saying is cohort, part of that whole being cohortive thing. Nishma'a. Ve'al yedaber. So, and God should not speak. And al is, it's one of the ways that You say no in Hebrew, the other one being lo. Imanu, with us, Elokim, pen namut. Pen meaning lest. It's kind of strange translating it to English because we don't really use the word lest very much, but the word pen actually, I mean, it's not a rare thing to say. And namut, right? We die, imperfect makes sense. It's in the pretty simple. Mavet is a very common term for dying. Uh, yeah, 20. So the people stood far off, but Moses drew near the thick darkness where God was. uh, and said to Moses, I said, I'm sorry, I'm not being very good today. 20. Oh, that's what's confusing me is where they. I'm just confused. Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. God has come to test." No, that's not it. What's going on here? We just 20. And Moses said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm 19." And said to Moses, "Speak to us yourself, and we will listen. But do not have God speak to us, or we will die." Just did that. I'm gonna have to watch this later and see where my mind went off because. And Moses said to the people, "Do not fear, for God has." Yeah, oh, I read the wrong verse. I read 20. For God has come to test you, and that His fear may be before you, so that you may not sin. Yeah. Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. God has come to test you, so that the fear of God will be with you to keep you from sinning." Um, and this is not making it easier, the three difference with the Jewish numbering and the Christian numbering. But Moses said to the people, "Fear not, for God has come in order to exalt you, and in order that his awe shall be upon your faces, so that you shall not sin." So that's a very different way of translating. Let's look at the Hebrew. Vayomer Moshe, so Moses said, El Ha'am, that's the preposition with the aleph. Um, Al Tirau, right? Do not fear, be not afraid. Yeah, this is Yira is the most common way we refer to. I actually like translating it as awe because it can be both. It can be in many times referring to things that are awesome, not just awful. Um, Ki laba'avur. Now that's a very strange word. Laba'avur. Nasot etchem ba ha'elokim uva'avur tihye yerato al penechem levilti techetau. Yeah, so laba'avur. So, I mean, that lamed could easily not be there. And further on, it's not. But prepositional lamed and a prepositional bet before the avur. Avur means because of, right? Um, I mean, there's many ways in which you could say this. I mean, ever literally means to cross. right? It's the root of the word ivri of Hebrew. So yeah, I mean, obviously it doesn't translate any differently into the English, but it's a very strange way of wording it in the Hebrew. Um, Nasot, to test, right? Can also be translated to raise up, and I guess that's what Rashi did exalt, right? So lenasot is actually to raise up. Hmm. Here, Moses is saying, "Do not be afraid, because God leba'avur nasot etchem." I mean, nasot, like nes, we've said before, and nisayon is a test, but nes also means to raise up, like, and it's a flag or a banner. So I can certainly understand the exalting, and it um makes more sense in context. Let's see what Rashi says. לגדל אתכם בעולם שיצא לכם שם באומות שהוא בכבודו נגלה עליכם. So he's actually saying that the word, it's לשון הרמה וגדולה כמו, and Rashi's giving, I mean, verses in Isaiah where Nes is used. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to go with Chabad here. While it's, I mean, in other places we do talk about God testing, right? And it would be written in the same way. And I don't think it's wrong or somehow deceptive to translate it as test. I do think it makes more sense as exalt, raise up here. And the word nasot does mean that sometimes. Let's see what they have to say. To test or try. Do they ever have? They might have it as a different root. Mm. Tests or proves. Attempt or assay. Yeah, they don't. They don't seem to have that as a root. Unless they have it with a sin, because there is some argument whether the sin and the samech are interchangeable or not. I'll leave that up to you. Yeah. נעשות אתכם באלוקים ובעבור יראתו על פניכם לבלתי תחתהו. Right, so I would go exalt, but test also works here. And the two, I mean, there are so many drashas about how the two are linked, right? God tests you in order to uplift you. Ba ha'elokim, God comes. Ba is pretty simple, right? The God. Yes, there is an article here which makes sense. Because there's only one God. Uva'avur tihye. So same kind of weird word, because tihye yirato shall be, right? I mean, I would have expected just to say, so you will fear him, but it's saying tihye yirato. So his yira, so his fear, the fear that belongs to him, al panechem, the preposition with the ayin, right, shall be before you or on your faces. Literally, it's on your faces, but obviously, it could also mean in front of you. It can also not be in front of you, because if it was just in front of you, it would be lifnechem, right? I would translate this as on your faces. Lebilti, so prepositional lamed, bilti means so that not, right? Bilti, without. Bli means without. I guess bilti is related to bli. Uh, related to bala, to become old or wear out. Yeah, I guess they're saying it's not related to bli. Don't know what to tell you. It means not, so that you do not. Right? Techetau, and this is the root that comes from for sin that comes from archery. It's the archery term chet tet aleph, and the aleph is silent as always. Let's keep on going. So the people stood afar off, but Moses drew near the thick darkness where God was. That was the one I read by mistake last time, 21. The people remained at a distance while Moses approached the thick darkness where God was. One. 21 here. The people remained far off, but Moses drew near to the opaque darkness where God was. Let's read the Rashi here. Within three partitions, darkness, cloud, and opaque darkness, as it is said. And so the three are Choshech, Anan, and Arafel. So and he's giving the verses where those three words are used: Choshech, Anan, and Arafel. Anan is like Anane Kavod, the clouds of glory. It's cloud. Choshech is how we usually translate darkness. Arafel is so actually these are yeah yeah. So Arafel, it's a more rare word. I would use my concordance there. Really. Vaya'amod ha'am merachok, Moshe nigash el ha'arafel, asher sham ha'elokim. So this yamod, to stand, right? Amidah, like we just had. The people, right? It's the word is there. Rachok, right? Afar. All of these are bechisaron, as basically everything in this sentence is bechisaron, but it's not strange. Moshe and Moses, nigash. So, yeah, this is the same word as vayigash, right? When Judah came close to Joseph, right? To approach, I would probably say, is the best way of translating nigash. Yeah, to draw near, approach. In modern Hebrew, it actually means to serve, as in like hand people things. Nigash el ha'arafel. So the preposition is with the aleph, not ayin. And this word arafel, right? What it means. From araf, to drip or drop. Eek. I'm not sure I agree with that. Arafel. I mean, they're saying it's perhaps from Araf, and then the Lamed is a formative, like Armel. I don't know about that. I really don't. I would use my concordance here. It's used 15 times. And apparently it's used Anan ve'arafel several times. Joel and Ezekiel, Anan ve'arafel in Psalms. Fell. Tachat raglav. That's a wow. Psalm 18. Over. Yeah, what exactly RFL is? I would use my I would use my concordance there. Um, Asher Sham, right? God, there was God, Elohim, with the article, the God, right? And there's a petucha at the end of this verse. Um, Then the Lord said to Moses, "Thus shall you say, thus you shall say to the children of Israel, you have seen that I have talked with you from heaven." Okay. Then the Lord said to Moses, "Tell the Israelites this, you have seen for yourselves that I have spoken to you from heaven." Chabad. The Lord said to Moses, "So shall you say to the children of Israel, you have seen that from the heavens I have spoken to you, not an angel." I, I'm not even gonna talk about it. I'm not. The idea that the revelation, Vayomer Havaya El Moshe. So, it's the Tetragrammaton Amar El Moshe, right? Preposition of the Aleph. This is very common. Kotomar, so you shall say, right? It's in the imperfect of Amar again. El, preposition of the Aleph. Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel. Atem, now it's in all y'all. It's in the plural. Re'item, saw, right? Ki min hashamayim. So ki min. So ki usually means because, but here it's pretty obviously that. Min hashamayim, from the heavens, right? Hashamayim. Dibarti, right? So now this is the more intensive speaking. Imachem, with you. Yeah. So all y'all, with all y'all. All the words are simple. Concepts might not be. 20. You shall not make anything to be with me, gods of silver or gods of gold, you shall not make for yourselves. Do not make any gods to be alongside me. Do not make for yourselves gods of silver or gods of gold. How could it be more clear? You shall not make images of anything that is with me, god of silver or gods of gold, you shall not make for yourself. And this lota asun iti is something that the Talmud in Rosh Hashanah goes through, talking about. This is actually one of the verses that I keep on quoting to Trinitarians. Lo ta'asun iti Elohei, sorry. It's a profane use of the word. Chesef ve'Elohei Zahav, and the gods of of gold. Lo ta'asu lachem. You shall not make for yourselves. So lo ta'asun iti. There's a paragogic nun there. It's asot, right? To make. You shall not make. Et. So this is not the direct object marker. This is the preposition which means with. So if it was the direct object marker, it would be oti. You shall not make me. This is lo ta'asun iti. You will not make with me, right? Alongside me. Elohei chesef. So this is in the construct form, God and with silver, chesef, and zahav, right? God with zahav. Lo ta'asu lachem. You shall not make for yourselves. Yeah. Pretty simple. It's the all y'all. 24. An altar of earth you shall make for me, and you shall sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your oxen. In every place where I record my name, I will come to you, and I will bless you. Make an altar of earth for me, and sacrifice on it your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, your sheep and goats and your cattle. Wherever I cause my name to be honored, I will come to you and bless you. Was the thing. Cause my name to be remembered. See what about this. An altar of earth you shall make for me, and you shall slaughter beside it your burnt offerings and your peace offerings, your sheep and your cattle. Wherever I allow my name to be mentioned, I will come to you and bless you. Let's read the actual Hebrew. Mizbeach adama ta'aseh li, וזבחת עליו את עולותיך, ואת שלמך, את צונך, ואת בקריך, בכל המקום אשר אזכיר את שמי, אבוא אליך וברכתיך. So, yeah. Okay, so you shall make for God a mizbeach adama, right? So mizbeach is an altar, comes from the root zevach, right? And it's a place where you slaughter, butcher animals. Adama, right, is earth, clay. I usually translate it to differentiate it with what should we call it? To differentiate it from eretz. Ta'aseh li. So it was saying what you shouldn't make, and it's saying what you should make. Vezavachta. So this is the same root as mizbeach, right? So zavachta, alav, prepositional dain, et olotecha. So and ola literally means to go up, but korban olot were called burnt offerings because all of them would go up in smoke, right? And it's kind of weird that it's written completely bechisaron vav there. Ve'et shlamecha. So the shlamim, korban shlamim, the peace offerings, is usually translated as. Et tzoncha ve'et bekarecha. So tzon is sheep, yeah. Bekarecha, oxen, right? It's a little bit different than, I guess, we were using behemot earlier. Bechol hamakom, in every place. Okay. In all the places? How'd they translate it? Wherever. Asher azkir et shemi. So azkir is the imperfect of the hefil, of the causative of to remember, right? So we said zachor et hashabbat, remember the Sabbath day. And here it's azkir, I will cause to be remembered, et shemi, it's in the imperfect, right? My name. Avo, with the milui, which is, I'm surprised, I will come. Although, I guess, I mean, if it wasn't there, you would read it Abba, Father. You could. Alecha, the preposition with the aleph, uverachticha, and so this is getting flipped in context. I will bless you. Yeah, and it's back in the singular. Shlomecha, latecha. No, thank you. Okay. And if you make me an altar of stone, you shall not build it of hewn stone, for if you use your tool on it, you have profaned it. If you make an altar of stones for me, do not build it with dressed stones, for you will defile it if you use a tool on it. And when you make for me an altar of stones, you shall not build them of hewn stone, lest you wield your sword upon it and desecrate it. Well, long Rashi's on here, which I am not gonna do. Ve'im mizbeach avanim ta'aseh li, lo tivne et hen gazit, ki charbecha henafta aleha vatachalaleha. So, if you make so im is if, right? Mizbeach avanim, right? So, like we said, mizbeach is an altar, and here it's in construct with even, the word stone or brick. So this is avanim in the plural. Ta'aseh, you shall make for me. Lo tivne eten. So you'll notice that avanim, right, it goes along with building, tivne, right? Eten, them. What's funny, it switches from the English. Well, oh, I guess it's going off of the avanim because Evan is a female. Okay, feminine is in plural. Lo tivne eten, you shall not build them. Gazit, and lishchat hagazit. Gazit was the chamber of hewn stone in the temple, which was actually made of, which was made out of hewn stone, right? And that's where the Sanhedrin held its trials. But it was on the outer wall of the temple. Kicharbecha. So yeah, the word here cherev, I mean, they're translating it as tool, but it is sword, and I don't think it's yeah, I don't see it as being, the only time they're putting it as a tool. I'm gonna have to disagree with that. Yeah, whatever Rashi says, and he goes into it, but kicharbecha henafta aleha, lest you wield your sword upon it and desecrate it. Yeah, henafta. So hanafa means to nun pei he is the root. No, nun vav pei. To wave back and forth, to sprinkle. Yeah, we're in the Omer right now, and Yom Hanaf starts from the day of the waving. There's a waving ceremony that's done. So yeah, charbecha henafta aleha, right? Use upon it? No, this is that. No, I their translation is just plain wrong. you may wave your stone upon it, your sword over it, right? That this is, yeah, I mean, it seems to be talking of violence specifically, and that their translation just does not include that. Aleha, preposition with the ayin, vetachalaleha, right? So the root halal, right, means to profane. It can also mean to hollow out, right? And you shall profane it. You shall make it not holy. Whole is the opposite of kadosh. Last verse. Nor shall you go excuse me, up this by steps to my altar, that your nakedness may not be exposed on it. Um, so there were ramps, not steps, in the temple. And do not go up to my altar on steps, or your private parts may be exposed. Um, yeah, and they were very careful about that. Um, in the Beit HaMikdash. And you shall not ascend with steps upon my altar, so that your nakedness shall not be exposed upon it. Velo ta'ale ba'ma'alot al mizbechi, asher lo tigale ervatcha alav. And there's a petucha, there's an open break there, which is probably why the chapter breaks there. So my guess is that this was a common occurrence in temples where there were steps, and Judaism has been very, I don't want to say the word prudish, but prudish. Judaism was considered a very anti-sexual, not sex negative in that sense that people have it today, right? So prudish and puritanical has come to mean far more than what it meant in Judaism, but the surrounding, right, the surrounding temples and stuff, they were very much um they were very much, there were temple prostitutes, all kinds of things like that. So sexual purity is an important part of Judaism, and this is a reflection of that. To have the decorum, the necessary decorum there in the temple. So velota ale ba'ma'alot, right? So this is again aliyah, to go up, like we said, korban olah, right? And ma'alot, written b'chisaron vav here, means steps, things that bring you up. Yeah. Al mizbechi, to my altar. Asher lo tigale ervatecha. So asher, so that, right? Asher, so that, lo tigale, so gilui arayot, to expose nakedness in rabbinic Hebrew and modern Hebrew has become kind of like tinaf, right? To any sort of sexual impropriety. But here it's a particular, it's a literal way of saying it. Gale means to reveal, right? Gilion. Right, yeah, and erva is nakedness. Try to say nakedness. Yeah, indecency maybe, because I mean, erva is not the same as arum, which means also naked, and is less. Um, it's less negative. You can use your concordance here. It shows up 54 times in the Bible, and it's related. They're saying to our to be naked. Oh, I guess so. They're saying tar. No, okay, to empty. Yeah. So that was our chapter. If anybody has any questions, please ask now or forever hold your. I'm joking. If you don't want to ask now, you can ask later. You are very welcome onto the Discord. Um, my Discord or the Bridges of Meaning Discord. Both of them are very great places to discuss this sort of stuff. And there's also the Bible study Discord. Also, I don't go on there very much, but if anybody has questions about the Hebrew, certainly you can ping me on there. I am on there. You can um, you know mark me and I will come on there, or you can talk in the comments and uh, below. If you are listening to this later, please do like and subscribe. That does help other people find this as well who might enjoy it. And honestly, I would like people to be able to come and interact, ask their questions, because obviously there's lots of people doing similar things. Um, I I can make myself available to you guys. Okay, as always, I will end with Tzefania 3:9. Ki az epoch el amim, safar berra likro hulam, beshem havaya le'ovdo shchem echad. For then I will turn over to the peoples a winnowed language, so that all of them may call with the name of God to serve him with one shoulder together. I am going to be on for a few minutes just in case people do have questions. I do tend to hang around afterwards. Um, just if people have questions about this or anything else, please feel free to ask in any of the many ways that are open to you. Oh wow, people are on the live using the Discord, which I didn't notice. Yeah, the Dead Sea Scroll is really great. Um, and my screen capture does not show everything. Yeah, let me take a look at that. So the Chabad is fine. The I'm guessing he means on the Bible Hub. I will ask him because somebody else also agreed with that. So definitely yes. Um, oh, that So you mean on Bible Hub? Oh, so you want to see, okay, you want to be able to see the morphology better? Okay. And I guess also when we look at Strong's. Cool. Okay. I will definitely adjust that. Oh, right, especially when we go into the concordance, right? Um, yeah, I will take care of that for next time. Oh, vertically. Okay. Oh, I didn't realize. Well, that's just me not scrolling far enough down. That's um that's my fault. Yeah. So I just have to remember to scroll down enough. Um yeah, that's my fault. I'm sorry about that. Also, I do recommend, pulling pulling this stuff up. It's available to you yourself. You know, sometimes I want to look at something and um I don't look at things in the don't look at things in the concordance that you might want to take a look at, or the verses you might want to look up. You know, I do encourage um, pulling up the stuff yourself as well. Um, so, any other questions or comments? I really appreciate the feedback. It's very, very helpful.